Welcome to StartWrite version 6. We've added a lot of new features and a lot of new icons, and we hope you have fun with it. Like StartWrite version 5, StartWrite version 6 is very simple to begin. When you open the program, you've already got a line with guidelines and you can just start typing. So now I want to show you options that will enhance what you want to do with worksheets. It's important to remember that StartWrite isn't necessarily a method of teaching as much as it is a tool to let you create any kind of worksheet for the lesson plan or the lesson method, the teaching method that you have set up, or the one that you are using. First of all, you may not be using manuscript and want to use a different font each time you open StartWrite. Let's click on Tools and then Default Font. So right now manuscript is the default font, but if your school or your home schooling group is teaching a different font, such as italic or modern manuscript, which is similar to Danielian, we also have Palmer, which is PLM, which is similar to Palmer, and HWOT, which is similar to handwriting without tears. Click on it, make sure the set as default is checked, and then click OK, and then each time you open StartWrite, it will be in the default font that you want or that you're teaching. So let's begin. Let's set the letter size a little larger. We'll set it to 72 inches, or set 0.72. One of the first things that we've added with StartWrite to make it easier to use and create worksheets is we've added a grid. So now you can line up your text boxes much easier. And in fact, there's an even easier way than using just the grid, and that is use it with Snap to Grid. If you check that Snap to Grid option, then when you bring your box close to see where it turns red as it gets close, even a little bit away from it, when you let go, it will snap to that corner. So that way you can easily align all your text boxes vertically or horizontally as you're creating your worksheet. First two options are the same. First four options are the same as we had in StartWrite version 5. You have the shading. Instead of 4 buttons, you now click on the down arrow and select the percent of shading that you want. 25% is a light shading. Let me put some letters in here. 100% is solid black. This is the dot density. Click on the down arrow. 25% is what it's set at. 100% is solid. So you can pick anything in between there. The guidelines, we've given a lot more options now. You can turn on or off the guidelines, but now you have a lot more flexibility. You can set whether it's dashed, solid, on or off, and now you can also set the thickness. Plus you have down at the bottom an example of when you select these different options. It will show you what it is before you go back to the worksheet. We can also change the color. So if you click on the down arrow by the color, you can pick a different color. That one was blue. Let's put it at a purple just for fun. Or you can do it different shades of gray. So now that's set as a purple. Also, we can set the thickness. Let's set the red line, which is the base line, as a thicker line, and we can leave the color at that. So if you like whatever those colors are and the settings, then you'd click down here to set as default, and then each time you open StartWrite, that will be what appears. Okay, so we've got a purple line on the top, we've got a red line, a thicker red line here, and the decenter line is black, and the dotted line is blue. So anyway, you just have a lot more options with creating, modifying the guidelines. The arrows are pretty much the same, except now you can change the arrow color. So if you want to do a light gray color for the arrows, you can change that. You also have the options. We'll go over options a little bit later. We also have the option of the start dot. we've added the color change on that. So if you want to have your start dots to be green or purple or whatever other color you choose, shade of gray, you can do that. Again, the example here shows you what the color will look like before you actually select it. If you like that color, just set that as default. So now they're green. A new option we've added is called letter outlines. This would be used probably for young children preschool. Make them very large. Let's set it at a 144, and then I'm going to do a letter outline so that the child can then draw inside the letter, the outlined letter. Maybe you could have the child do this one a few times and then turn off the dots and have them just start with the start dot and try the letters here. The next one we have is what we call decision dots, again for just a very early beginner, kind of give them an idea of where the important intersections are. The decision dots, because that's where the line goes horizontal on the top of the B, and then at that dot it starts to curve, and this dot it starts to curve back under, and then stop the curve. I know it's kind of a connect the dot, but for really young children that might be a way to get them going early, having fun with writing letters. We have an option to connect the dots with a very thin line, thinner than our regular line, and then you can use that also in connection with other options. One recommendation or idea would be to make this one a very light gray, so they still get the support of seeing what the letter is, but it's not just tracing over the top of that dark line. Even make it lighter gray than that. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that text box and let's start another text box. We can make it quite as large. Another fun option can be to add some color to the letters, and I'm going to make it solid. Okay, we've got it solid there. I'm going to make it solid there. We now have a letter, color letters. The first stroke is red, the second stroke is B, and the third stroke is green, and the last stroke, or the fourth stroke on a W, is purple. But you have the option, again, with the color and shading of gray, to set those colors as to whatever you would want to set. Just click it on or off with the colors that you've got set. Another option that we've expanded, there was a little bit of that in version 5, but what we call area shading. So if I'm focusing on a particular area, say the lower area, I can turn on my shading of that particular area. We'll put that one off, and let's say we'll turn this one on. And also I can select whatever color I want to use. So now I'm focusing more on the down arrow, the shaded area, on the letters that have a descender. And you can do that with different shades of gray or different colors depending upon what your printing options are. Okay, another fun thing to do, let me turn that off, is to add some visual support to the letters or to the words that the children are writing. So we have what we call a border art. So let's do a color border art. I want to do a dog, and I'm going to make it a big dog. It does affect your border, the placement, because it's got to use up space around the text, so you have to kind of resize your text boxes. But now the child can learn a letter, and they're seeing the picture of the dog. We don't have a lot of pictures yet, but we're adding more all the time. You can also, in not using that one, the border, we can do border lines. So you can see the box with the border line around it. We can take the border art off, so you can just put a box around it. That's done by clicking the right mouse button, and we have this menu that has all the same things, but you just access it from the right arrow button, or the right mouse button, and you've got the letter shading, the stroke arrows, the dot density, and so on. Color letters. Another fun thing that we've added are special characters. So let's say we're doing a shape. We want to have the child practice writing. Now we have a group of shapes, and that's included in special characters. Insert special characters. A little window pops up, and then I can double click on that box, close it. Now the child could trace that box or color it in along with the word square. Now a combination we could do is to have that, let's make that 25% dots, and we'll do the special characters. We'll include you can double click on the square, or you can just point it and click insert. When you're done, you do have to close the box out. So now they can trace that and write the word. So there's some combinations we can do there. The special characters also have Spanish characters and some other characters. So if you're teaching Spanish, that can be used. Let's get rid of this one, and I'll insert another special character, and that was we can do for some counting. So how many circles are there? 4. So anyway, some combinations like that. Okay, I'm going to X out of that one. Get a new text box. Now another new feature that we have added is one we call Story. Story lets you have text go from one box to another box. And so this can be in the same page, or it can be on separate pages. The text will flow between it. Because of the nature of our letters, they're kind of complicated, and they're actually part of the font because they change size and all that. When you go from one box to the next box, you will have to move your cursor down to that box and keep typing. But as you edit or modify the text, it will move. The text will then move to the other box. The last box in a group of boxes that are in stories, that box will expand as you add more. Let me just show you. So here's my first box, and then I'm going to do a second box. Okay, now I'm going to click on this option. It says include in story, where it's got the two boxes above and below, and then a green arrow between the two. So the little corner handles turn to yellow. That tells you that it is a text box in a story. Let's move this one to here also. I'm going to take it to a 60, a little bit smaller. And in each box you do have to set separately because of the nature of the fonts. Okay, so this one I'm going to set as a text box too. Okay, so now let's do this is a story. Okay, now I have to move down. About my dog. Now you see the second box grew as it needed to. So I'll drag this one out. And the bottom one you just have to bring it back up unless you're going to type down into it. Now I can move this one, resize it, but if I size it bigger, you'll notice that story did wrap up into that box. But by doing this, now I can include, I can have kind of text wrap around, but that at least gives you the option of setting up two boxes on two different pages and putting some text or pictures around them, and then letting the text flow between the boxes. And you can actually set up multiple boxes. So anyway, that's the features of StartWrite, some of the features, and we hope you have fun at it, and let us know what you think. Thanks.